I'd like to open a meeting. This is a regular meeting, Moose Lake City Council for Wednesday, October 9th, 2024 at 4 p.m. And I'd like to welcome everyone that's here. And we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome our guest here tonight, I should say this afternoon. Under 1B, we have approval agenda. I do have one correction to make. On number 9, under announcements, the second item, City Moose Lake Truth and Taxation Meeting, Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. Do I have any other additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the agenda? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. We'll move on to consent agenda. 2A minutes. Number 1 is a regular city council meeting, September 11th, 2024. Number 2 is emergency city council meeting, September 11th, 2024. And number 3 is a special city council meeting, September 25th, 2024. Any discussion or questions on the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the minutes? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 2B, financial reports. Number 1, the city accounts payable for September 2024. Number 2, the city financial statement, September 2024. And number 3, the liquor store profit loss statement, September 2024. Questions, discussions? Yes, sir.
I just had that one about the sanitation. I don't know if you want to bring that up under there.
Yeah, let's go do it now.
It's just, it's under expenses 101-45200-384. And we have 6 sanitation spots throughout the city that we don't use in the winter time. And I know that they get shut down. I'm just thinking that we could, if we shut it down even 1 month sooner, since we do not have a Christmas thing in the park this year, that's $1,778 that we can just save right there. So I guess that would be my recommendations, that we look at shutting it down sooner. And I don't know if, and then pull those receptacles out of there so people are not dumping their garbage when we're not open.
So those, the 3 baseball fields, campground, those have all already been shut down. The receptacles are not removed yet, but they will be. I can definitely add the city park to it as well if that's what council decides. That's not a problem at all.
I'm just thinking for the winter time, I think that
Would then, if we had an event in the park, would we then require whoever is hosting that event to provide their own garbage service for that?
yeah, I don't know what events we'd have in the winter, but I guess it would be up for discussion.
Okay, if we were to have one.
One year they had that bocce thing,
Yes,
John,
bocce.
in the park. That was a while back. I think they moved it back by the
Brewery.
brewery now. Yeah. So definitely they'll just a note to be sure that we discuss garbage pickup if we have an event that comes along. Thank you. Are there any others that we have? We have one at the Historical Society, but they have events all winter.
The pavilion, the Generations Park. We have one there all year as well. Okay, if you want that removed, we can have that removed as well.
I can't imagine that it's used after.
I don't know, do snowmobile or stuff there, or is there picnic tables under there, or any?
There are picnic tables on there.
There is just one, it's not a dumpster.
Just a can.
It's a can. It may make sense to leave the can there. People do, I think that some of the hockey things, if it's decent, they sit over there also. Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the financial reports?
So,
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried. On to number three, excuse me. Public comment. This time is reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
I have one regarding,
Could you come up to the, here and state your name, please?
my name is David Kineski, and I was just wondering about the parking restructuring that's going to be taking place on 4th and Elm Avenue. That was in the Star Gazette. I am a resident above Hometown Clips there, and I'm just concerned about my parking. I'm the only resident up there at this time.
Do you park along 61 or in the back?
I can't park in back because the businesses take up the spaces back there. Go ahead.
Mayor Shaw, this is an agenda item under previously discussed business, 5A. So do we either move it? Do you want to move it up? Or what he's referring to is an agenda item?
Okay, you know, you just have 3 minutes right now, but when an
Right.
agenda item comes, it would go to 15 minutes. So do you wanna, we could either move it up now, or you could wait and we'll discuss it more in depth.
I'll wait.
Okay,
Thank
thank you very much. What was your first name again?
David
David.
Kineski, K-O-N-I-E-S-K-A.
Thank you. Anyone else on public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 4A. This is departmental reports, Carleton County Sheriff's Department. Activity report.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Mayor Shaw, and councilors, and Mr. Owens. You have, in your packet, you should have a cover sheet which outlines the activity by both the contract deputy at this time and the non-contract deputies within the city of Moose Lake. So we had, for the contract deputy, you can see 13 either extra patrol or details that were conducted, 9 traffic stops, 24 business checks, community engagement. The on-view or public assist is if they happen to see someone while they're on patrol and needing assistance walking or in a vehicle. And then the calls for service, 19, that's where someone called 911. And it is a little bit more detailed within your packet as to exactly what those calls were, or what the call type was, and the date and the location. As well as the county, the other deputies, non-contract, there was some paper services, traffic stops, details, 69 calls for service. And so if there's any comments, questions, anything, I would be happy to take right now.
Another very busy month. Chris, go ahead.
I just have one comment or question. When it says adult abuse,
Yes.
what does that like qualify for? Because it seems to be a lot of adult abuse.
So
here.
most of those, when you see that, is gonna come right out of MSOP.
Okay, I figured that by the address, but.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily, I mean, we have that code for other places too, but it's statewide. It's for any adult abuse. We have the Minnesota Adult Abuse Reporting Center that was created several years ago. So there's additional requirements put on law enforcement to report or to take in reports from facilities, homes, anything involving vulnerable adults. So that is what our code is that we call it from our dispatch center, is adult abuse. So it could be a variety of things. It doesn't mean it's necessarily physical. In any of the facilities, if there's a report of certain things, maybe somebody's reporting they didn't get their medication, or, you know, there's a wide range of things that could fall under those reporting requirements for some of the facilities and mandated reporters.
Is there any update on the other 3 officers?
So we're not in, I can't give you an exact date. We have the one that is in training right now. Training is going well and on schedule as anticipated. So we're hoping into December that that one will be ready to go. And we continue to, we have a couple that we're backgrounding right now. So they should be entering training hopefully if they pass the background. And the pre-employment process, if they don't, we will have to, or we are going to anyway because we're going to need more, but we will have another posting as well. So we are actively working on it. Again, I will stress to the council, it would be very easy for me to take people that I think probably are not a good fit and maybe are questionable just to get a body down here, and I don't want to do that. I will not lower standards of hiring in order to fill a position. So I appreciate the patience. In the meantime, as you can see, the rest of the deputies are taking the calls and also providing proactive patrol throughout the city during that time. So,
Good. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Moving on to 4B, City Superintendent Phil Etner.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Administrator Owens, had a busy month last month. A little short staffed for the time being, but we're gonna make it through. So, but I know the office, a lot of you haven't seen a whole lot of me lately because I've been, it seems like everywhere. But we're doing what we can do for the time being. Water department, we'll start there. Distribution system distributed 5.5 million gallons of drinking water in the month of September. We have 3 curb stop repairs to make yet before winter. Those are scheduled here for next week, and 1 in the following week, and then we should be done there. Hydrants are all, hydrant flushing is all complete. Water system is all winterized and ready to be installed, put into winter operation. Residents will not notice anything different when that happens. It's just strictly an operational tactic that we use on our end to make sure we prevent any additional freezing throughout the winter time. All the public works shop had water training today for a couple of hours. We had that in-house, right in the shop there. It was free service, got a couple of hours there for community ed hours. We will also be in Barton tomorrow for 2 hours for another free training session up there. And then once again in November, it's free, it doesn't cost us anything, we're close to respond if we need to. And these hours all have to be obtained sooner than later. So trying to go down that path. We have 4 licensees in the shop, so there's a lot of container hours that need to be added. So every opportunity we can get, we try to get that done. Sewer department, collection system, collected 10.2 million gallons wastewater in the month of September. 2024 sanitary sewer lining project, we'll talk about that later, but that is complete. The treatment facility, I'm still looking at other options for treatment at the ponds as far as whether it's organic loading or hydraulic loading, trying to get our capacity down even farther down. There's some trainings this winter I'll be at down in St. Cloud, probably in St. Paul as well, just to see what other technology is out there to try to come up with some other options for us that are hopefully cheaper than what we're doing and can give us some solutions to our problems. Street department, right away, we are patching is needed. Ditching, we had a couple culverts to put in yet, which won't be a big deal, and then ditching and right away clearing and mowing. So, and we are starting to get plow equipment early. I know no one wants to hear that. I know, Chris, I'm sorry, but it is what it. I get it. I saw that look on your face. I get it too, I get it. Cemeteries, those are completely winterized, ready for winter. Burials are still happening up there, they're very regular basis. So campground is all shut down, winterized for the winter, so that's good to go. Parks, same thing. The arena, new compressors are up and running. Ice installation is halfway complete. Paint went down today, looks pretty good in there. They're talking about starting to practice on that next Monday, so. Other than that, everything else I think is later on in the meeting. Is there any questions at this point for me?
Just one thing, is there any critical equipment that we may run into problems with if there's a shortage due to all the things going on down south? That you have a critical, you're at a,
Not that I'm worried about it this time.
okay,
It depends on how prepared we want to be.
yeah.
If we want to go over the top, we could spend millions of dollars to be totally prepared, and we probably still will have the wrong equipment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It'll be the wrong part.
How
that
about
breaks.
products, chemicals, stuff like that?
Products and chemicals are good, they come locally out of Superior, we're good there. Parts and equipment service, everything comes out of the booth, so we're pretty good there. Our biggest thing is gonna be shipping, is gonna be the problem. With what happened here a couple weeks ago with the ports shutting down for a couple of days, but that's gonna affect the whole world. Instead of just, it's like, there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah. It's good, sounds like you're well under control.
Well, we're trying, we're trying. Okay,
Thank you.
Yep.
Municipal Liquor Store Department report for September.
Yes, members of the council, Mayor Shaw, Administrator Owens. Things are going really well down at the liquor store. We are up just under 30,000 over previous year in revenue, so that's good. Yeah, last year was a really good year. We have been in discussion with the brewery in regards to Oktoberfest and maybe being more of a partner for their big event that happens down at the arena next year. So that's great. We've been talking with the chamber. There's some events that they want to do, some things that can drive some extra revenue. So we're looking to a strong rest of the year to close out the year for us. And Marty's doing a great job. We're working on some personnel stuff, but that's going well too. So any questions? Unique.
Sounds good. Thank you. We have the next item,
Yeah, so IT.
technology and library.
Yep, well, not the library probably, this week. I was in the arena, I don't know, a week or two ago. There is an antenna that's inside the arena that controls the arena Wi-Fi. I was able to locate the box that controls that. I did reboot and reshuffle that. And I checked with the Oktoberfest event that happened. They said the Wi-Fi was excellent. So maybe that fixes our problem down there. I'm gonna keep in touch with the Hockey Association to see, you know, if they're having any issues anymore. But as of now, it seems to have really corrected the Wi-Fi issue at the arena. Let's see, assisting with some new VPN type stuff that it will work with our firewalls down at the county police station now. So just going through that, helping them out. So it's just a better way for them to remote in to get access to the programs they need. So any IT questions?
Great, thank you, Ryan.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything on library report?
We'll be having a meeting that's coming up Monday.
Okay. Anything to bring forward?
Not at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to 4E City Engineer. This is for monthly update, October 3rd.
Yes, we have a lot going on from an engineering perspective, like usual. A couple of highlights that won't be discussed later on in the meeting. The Trunk Highway 73 Phase 2 trail. There will be a need based on timing to request an extension from the DNR from a grant facilitation perspective. So I'm working on that. In addition, we're continuing to work with MSOP and DOC regarding easements and things of that nature for a portion of the trail. That's going really well. I will and have continued to be in contact with MSOP regarding the South Substation Road and the city's plans to utilize it as a trail and how the facilities will still have access from a facilitation standpoint. So working with our community partners on that, it's going really well. As far as a sewer board coordination update, you'll see in the minutes there were some talking points on there that were recorded. The city has received a counter proposal from the district as far as mediation is concerned. We received that proposal yesterday, pretty late in the day. So we are continuing to review that with legal counsel. We have a meeting tentatively scheduled here for Friday morning. We're working out timetables. It's either going to be at 9 or 10 a.m., but we'll be meeting with legal counsel to go over the counter proposal, and I will keep council updated as we have additional information to share. The MPCA wastewater resiliency grant was something that we submitted. It got submitted on September 26th with a request for $658,000. That request was for a significant sewer lining project in the city. So excited about that, and we just continue to try for funding opportunities as they become available. The engineers have been really excellent to work with on that. They understand our needs, and there's actually an additional grant that you might have noticed in a minute. It's an MPCA planning grant. That application comes due in November, and we do plan as a city to apply for that one as well. That one is going to be around seeking funding for developing a wastewater facility plan, including flow monitoring, sampling, things of that nature. And so we will apply for that grant as well. In addition, as far as the school property development is concerned, the Planning Commission approved recommended the rezone to council. The council engaged in approving the rezone for the residential development. As far as the 3 lots are concerned, the EDA accepted the land transfer from the city and then approved the development agreement with the developer for those 3 lots. We are looking to close on those 3 lots and have those 3 lots officially be in the hands of the developer. And the last step is going to be the development agreement that we'll talk about later on in the meeting. And I think that's it as far as an engineering update is concerned.
Any questions by the council? Thank you. Moving on, chamber updates. I'm not sure if anyone had a chance to make it today.
Yes, the chamber has some upcoming events. There is the trunk or treat that'll happen in the city park on October 31st between 3:30 and 7 p.m. In addition, on Saturday, October 26th, there is a movie sponsored by Northview Bank at 1 p.m. at Lake Theater. The movie will be Hotel Transylvania 2. And then as far as after-hour business events coming up, September 19th at St. Luke's and October 3rd at the Moose Lake Golf Course for any after-hours events. The chamber does have these events listed on their website if there's any additional questions or specifics. And then lastly, there is a ribbon cutting October 17th at 3 p.m. at Art Olgrim Park. That is to celebrate the Blue Cross Blue Shield partnership with the township. They just completed a $250,000 project regarding a fitness pad at the park. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions by the council? Thank you. Just for Sheriff Kelly, if you want to leave, you're welcome to. I know you have a busy life.
Thank you.
Moving on, number 5, previously discussed business. 5A, Elm Avenue and 4th Street parking discussion. A is hours of parking enforcement, and B is section of enforcement on Elm Avenue. So this would be the opportunity, thank you.
I'm David Kineski again, and I was just wondering if there was any plans put in place for parking once these new changes are actuated.
We haven't really discussed any changes. There was one suggestion that I heard, but it has not come back to the council. I guess this is the time, I guess we could talk about it. I didn't, just had got it before this meeting, and that was, is there a possibility of a parking spot designated for the residents in apartment in any of our, in our lot here or on 4th Street? And that just came. So, yes.
So I did have an opportunity to have the dialogue, and inquiry was brought forward to the city, and a request for some clarification regarding the motions that were made at the previous meeting. So the motions that were made from council were to eliminate the last parking spot on the west end of 4th and make that the next spot up for compact vehicles only. So that is something that was, a motion was made by council at our last meeting. In addition, there was a motion made to implement a 3-hour parking on Elm Avenue and 4th Street, all days of the week. And so what has been requested of the city is that there's additional clarification for hours of enforcement and what that looks like. And then additional clarification for a stop and start point for that particular 3-hour parking limit. Does it start at after the intersection of 4th and Elm and go up to, I guess we didn't set parameters. It was just for Elm and 4th. So parameters for areas of enforcement, but then also if there's a desire from council to narrow in hours of parking enforcement as well.
We don't have a set date yet to start this enforcement?
What was discussed was, November 1st is in the motion.
And there was a question from Phil about signage that you could not get until, you thought, end of December or into January?
Approximately, yeah.
So you couldn't get a sign to put up there that 3-hour parking.
I can, yes.
So it's automatically pushed back.
No, I can get my hands on signs. I can get them. That is, getting the signs is not a problem now. I've checked into that, we can get them.
Okay. So that, open that discussion up with the council. Yes, please.
David, where do you generally park right now?
I park in front of the hair salon right next door to Hometown Flips.
Oh, okay, so right on, kind of on that curve.
Right, because I'm disabled and I've been, if I go shopping or something, it's easier for me to unload and bring things up.
So are you
On that.
using the handicap parking spot or right
No,
ahead of that?
right at the intersection before
But-
the yellow on the curb.
Okay.
There's one spot, or actually there's 2.5 spots that are regular parking there. And then there's that blue area that is 2-hour.
And you're the only tenant, you said?
At this time, yes.
And you're the landlord, aren't you?
Yes.
I think that'd be a question I would have for the landlord, if there's any parking. Because that's part of our issue, is that we have tenants parking in places where people are coming to get goods and services. That's the issue that was brought forth. So it's like, how do we rectify that? And does the landlord have any parking spots behind there now?
One thing I wanted to mention is that a while back, I ended up having to take out harassment order for protection on an individual. And with the vehicle parked where I've been parking, I can keep an eye on it and make sure nothing happens. Otherwise, you know, I don't really see a problem. The harassment order is in effect through this coming July of next year.
And the parking in the back of it, who fills that out?
Rasmussen's take up between 2 and 4 parking spots in the back. Hometown Flips takes up 1, and there is a masseuse that is in the end of the old co-op building, and she parks back there. So in the back there is no space.
So that owner in the back of your building, is there any designated parking for your residents? Yeah.
I usually tell all my commercial businesses that they reserve that space.
Could you come up to the microphone?
I'm Isaac Walter, property owner there at 49 Elm. So I tell all the commercial businesses that I keep that space back there for them to park. In Rasmussen's, they usually have 2 to 4 vehicles taking up a lot of that space, and Hometown Flips uses 1. And I'm not sure where the rest of them park. And I've always told anybody who stayed in the building, like, during business hours, please keep the space in front of the building open so that the businesses have space for their customers. That's kind of how I've always kept it pretty clear with my tenants. But it's up, like, I can't control the street parking, that's not up to me.
No, you could, you got one resident, you could declare 1 spot in the back for the resident, especially if somebody's handicapped.
Yeah, I guess if needed, I can do that. That's not a big
I mean, that would certainly.
There isn't a lot of spots back there that I can control, because if you look back there, there's kind of a deep well, but where Rasmussen's parked and they fit 4 vehicles, you really can only have 2 people parked anyway, so they're just parking behind their own vehicles. And that's, you know, that stuff could get pushed, but then where do they park? In the streets. So that's why I've done that, is most of the time, my tenants don't usually have much for vehicles, because they're small, cheap apartments that, you know, a lot of people can't afford vehicles anyways, with the type of tenants that I rent to. Have a whole lot.
I do have a question. So Rasmussen's, do they have like big vans that have equipment in it, or are they just cars that they're coming to work with?
Yeah,
As to
it's
the
just that
vehicles.
they have a couple vehicles that have their name on them, and a couple that don't. So they keep
Because-
their business vehicles there, and then when they come to work, I think they park their cars there.
You have a
Because there is a
handicap?
kitty corner across this, during the public, that they could, as the working people without, you know, the stuff with Rasmussen on it,
Yeah,
park
there's-
over there and walk
There's
across.
been some hostile conversations between some of my commercial tenants, between Rasmussen's and Hometown Flips about some of this, and I've tried to mediate that, but they're pretty protective of parking back there, and I was trying to look at it like, hey, could we move the dumpster, maybe we could fit 3 diagonal and 1 vertical, and I don't know, I'm just not sure that there's a whole lot back there for space. Because
What
then
about
the winter
directly
comes in-
behind, you know, the door that goes into the old kitchen of that whole building?
There's a spot there, and that's where Hometown Flips parks. And sometimes they have a second vehicle, but there's also dumpsters there behind Valley Printing, so the garbage guys gotta get in there too. And it's, in the summer, this isn't as big a deal, but the winter comes, and there's nowhere to put snow. I don't even provide snow removal for the tenants, I just tell the businesses, you guys wanna park back here, you plow the snow, because that's not included. It's just, in the past, there's a lot of times mowers back there. Because they would just plow in a little room to get to somebody would plow to get to the commercial printing place. And that was it.
Doesn't Hometown Flips own that, the old Anderson Egg building, or is that?
They were leasing from them storage space.
Okay. So
I
there's
think
no-
they gave that up. But they were parking most of their vehicles over there, and really, they only parked one back there when they came to work, or maybe sometimes John would stop in and help out. And they might have two, but that wasn't, I don't know. I think Dave's concern is more that he's gonna have to walk all the way around the building, so it'd be easier for him just to park on Fourth or on 73 or whatever, Lane or whatever. So, I don't have a problem if he wants to park back there to work something out, but I just don't know if that's what.
Well, I'd be more comfortable with parking spot towards the intersection so I can keep an eye on my vehicle.
Yeah, so,
Back there, I really can't unless I run down to the laundry room and look out the window.
yeah, so.
Counsel?
I think that's where he's at, is he wants to be close because he doesn't want to have to walk so far. I don't know what it's on this.
Any suggestions?
My only suggestion would be to do what the owner of the party supply place said when they came in, was that they'd be open to allowing people to park in back. I would talk to them, unless you want to have some type of exemption. Other than I think when you do one exemption, you're doing a lot of exemptions for parking.
Over the last 3 years, the people that are on that block from Poor Gary's to the printing place there, they've come and talked to me on multiple occasions about the problem with the parking on that street there, about the vehicles being there for a long period of time, all day and all night and that. So, I mean, I have fielded multitudes of complaints from those businesses over the last number of years that they would like to see that opened up for their customers.
Well, when this is set to happen, you've got the signage, so it's gonna happen November,
I don't have the signage, I can get the
you
signage.
can get the signage.
Yes, I have, when I saw this come back on here, I didn't order anything.
Okay. So what timeline are we still dealing with?
A week.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about, he's handicapped. Okay, so if he's designated being able to stay in a handicap, so that takes care of the handicap spot. Okay. And the rest of the spots, if you have a limit of time parking, that opens, that spots have to open up every so often if you put whatever the limit is.
Do you have a handicap sign?
No, I don't.
You have a driver's license,
Yes.
why don't you have a handicap?
I haven't really addressed it to see if I'm eligible for it or not. I have multiple health issues and neuropathy in all my limbs.
If you did get that, I think that we could address it by after hours, he could be parking in that handicap spot and limit, during daytime hours for that handicap usage.
Would the handicap be where the blue is now?
I believe that would be changing, yeah.
Spot, yeah.
And if the businesses aren't open and you're parking there and you have a handicap sticker, and it's only during daytime hours that we're concerned about people parking there
Right.
for that 2-hour limit, then I think that we could help you with that issue. But I
Yeah,
think you'd have to go through some steps,
I will check into that.
okay?
So is it that you guys are just looking to limit parking during the day, during business hours, like 9 to 5 or something like that? Is that the plan? So you guys are still
So that is something that does need to be addressed via motion from council, is to establish those hours.
So any further question or discussions from the council on hours? And the suggestions, we had several last time.
One thing I had suggested was 8 to 8, 8 in the morning to 8 PM, because there are a number of businesses open till later into the evening. But once if the last hour is 8 o'clock and you have 3-hour parking, then they just come and they park at 5 o'clock and leave their vehicle there. Their vehicle will be covered by that 3 hours, and then when it turns 8 o'clock, then they just leave them there overnight the whole time. Another problem with the vehicles on the street is whenever there's plowing to be done during the winter, then Phil's crew has to go through the trouble of having all these vehicles removed from the road. And when do you usually start plowing,
5 a.m.
5 AM, then they're always trying to get those vehicles removed from Elm and 4th Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Well, if they're, when he has to plow, if they are moved, don't they get fined or towed?
They plow it in.
We plow them in. 'Cause
Well,
we-
It's up
we
to
went
them
down-
to
we went
dig
down-
out.
We went down that path and got nowhere with either towing them, ticketing them, so we just started plowing them. Because we don't have all day to sit there and try to get half a dozen vehicles moved.
And after the first winter that I was back in the area here, I learned, thanks to a note left on my vehicle I had, that I needed to park over here at the library lot when there was gonna be snow removal. So whenever there is snowfall in the evening, I park there, so I don't encumber these guys.
Okay, well, there's a suggestion 8 to 8. Any other suggestions?
I'm not sure how well 8 to 8 works, because like I said, when they'll just come and they'll park at 5 o'clock and use those 3 hours, and
Okay, well, we're at the end of our time with this issue. If there's no motion, we'll move on, and this will come to the next council meeting.
We have the signs, I guess I would go,
No, don't.
No,
but he can order the signs, they'll be here in a week, and we voted already for it to start November 1st. I mean, if we're just worried about the time frame, I think that we should just do an hour time frame and 8 to 9 walk, or,
Because that'll have to be printed on the signs.
correct, which is why I didn't order them.
yeah.
Also the length of the street, right? We can
And from
clarify,
where-
is it all the way down 4th Street?
Correct.
from 3rd and Elm to the intersection, and then up 4th Street to Douglas.
Just needs to be clarified in the motion.
Sounds like you got a good motion there, Will.
Can you say that again? 3rd and Elm to the,
Yeah, and-
which intersection? To Elm and 4th, or to the lights?
To the lights. I'll make a motion that it be from 3rd and Elm to the traffic lights, and then from the bank up to the Douglas on 4th Street. And do we want to do a time now? We could do 8 to 9. From 8 to 9, I'd make that motion,
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? You would just all have one. Do you really need that on Sunday?
There's businesses open on Sunday.
Which businesses?
Fort Gary's, the theater, Joe Jitters.
Hometown Flips.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions?
The only discussion would be that the handicap parking, I don't know what the verbiage is on that sign. Is it?
It says 2-hour parking.
Okay.
There isn't
That's not
a
a handicap.
handicap there anymore.
Okay.
The curb is still painted, but the signage is two-hour parking.
So we might want to look at that in a different motion possibly.
Yes.
Okay.
So all in favor,
Creating one.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? All right, that motion carried. Now the issue of the handicap position there, do you, the council want to reestablish that handicapped again?
I just assumed by the painting that it is a handicap.
But they'd have to be signed again?
It would have to be re-signed, correct?
Right.
If that's what it reads.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion to recreate a handicap in that area so it establishes it correctly and where it's needed.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is there any handicap along Fourth Avenue here other than up by the,
Just right,
like,
almost right in front of the city hall, there is one.
but like down by
across the
Poor
road.
Gary's, is there any?
I don't think so.
Across the road too, I believe. So
Oh,
the
by the
one,
bank.
the one right in front of
Right in front of the
Alley
bank.
and the opposite side of the street, I believe are both handicapped,
Okay.
I think.
So we want to make sure those are signed and repainted and is the contract still open to do the striping?
We're gonna talk about that.
It's
later.
on the agenda.
All right.
But that handicap, Greg, where you're looking at like 8 o'clock at night, then that 2-hour parking is no longer enforced. So someone that does have a handicap sticker could park there at nighttime.
I think that's automatic. I don't know what you have to look at the law.
Well, I don't know if there's, it's in the city, so I would think that we might have discretion on that, but
I don't know what's our rating.
I would just say that if there's something that we want to put in a motion, that we should put it in there that till 8 o'clock at night, and then with a handicap sticker, you could park there until 8 o'clock in the morning, or something like that.
Yes, Chris.
Can I just ask Kelly, on handicap signs, is there a designated time in there that you could park? Like 2-hour parking?
Yes, there's no handicap sign.
No, I'm talking to the
Sheriff.
Oh,
Sorry. No, I mean, there's nothing in statute that says there has to be.
Okay.
I've seen it in different cities, I think they have maybe time limits on certain things, but without being very specific, it will not be enforceable.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind.
That's where I would say 8 to 8.
It's up to the
2-hour
council.
limit is something of that nature, and then that would allow someone that does have a sticker that's living up there, such as yourself, the opportunity to stay there in the evening time without being told.
You guys want that to be 2-hour limit? Because I thought you guys said all the other stuff was gonna be 3.
Or 3, but the old sign said 2, sorry.
And that's getting addressed.
Okay. I just,
So 3 hours aligning with the rest.
Yeah.
I would encourage your people renting to, if they're not having like a van that has, you know, cleaning equipment all over it, to park in, you know, kitty corner across in the public parking. It's only, you know, kitty corner across the.
I thought that was privately owned by First National.
are you talking about,
It is, but they have opened that up for people to park. The agreement with the city is that we would plow that for them, correct? If they would allow people to park there, so that is open for public parking.
Okay,
Oh, that's-
I was unaware of that.
There's also a public parking lot up at the top of the block here, the power plant.
The dirt lot?
That's public parking right
Okay.
So there's some options for you.
Right.
I'm gonna ask for consensus on the parking there for handicapped, and we're gonna move on. Do you have consensus?
I don't know where we're at.
Well, it was reestablishing that the handicapped in front of the buildings here, going up to the lights, the curve on Elm. Consensus?
Top of the hill here, there's something, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the ones we do have, we're definitely gonna keep, but we need to reestablish that
That
one.
one, yeah.
Well,
Yes.
all right, we have consensus. We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, number 6A.
Item 2.
And we have Westburg, ICHAN's 2023 audit presentation. A is the sales tax fund balance, B liquor store, C is depreciation budget. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is David Early with Westburg Actions. We completed the audit for 2023 and issued a clean opinion on the report. And I just have a couple things I'm going to go over with you quickly. The first thing is the letter that says required communication to those charged with governance. This letter has a lot of basic information that we're just required to present to you. The only thing I want to point out on there is partway down the one paragraph that says difficulties encountered in performing the audit, and we say we encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management. So everyone was cooperative, provided the information we requested and so forth. So essentially that's the main thing I want to point out on there. Otherwise, the rest of the information there is just pretty much standard things.
Did you say we're better than most, Steve?
Absolutely. For the first time, better than most. And then another thing I put together was just a few charts. It's called financial trends. I think it's kind of helpful to look at some of your funds on a, like a 4-year basis, just to kind of know, are you accumulating resources, are you spending down resources, or kind of what's happening on that. So on the very first page, what we're looking at is just the general fund. As you can see, your general fund fluctuates quite a bit for expenditures. Part of that is related to timing of when you do projects, because in 2022 you had a significant project that was undertaken. And so you look at, your revenue is only 2.7, but you spent 3.5. And obviously you had planned for that because that was a project. So, but I think if you look at your cash balance over those 4 years, you're basically maintaining around 2.4 million in the bank in the general fund. So again, significant enough to help you out, because obviously with your general fund, you don't receive most of your money until you receive taxes and general or in your local government aids, which only occur twice a year for the most part. So always good to have a good balance in there. On the next page, you look at the water fund. 2020 was kind of an anomaly with the cash balance because you had issued bonds, hadn't quite finished the project yet, so that's why the cash was so high on that. But if you look at from 2021 up to 2023, you see your cash balance is increasing. Your revenues are exceeding expenditures. So from an operating standpoint, you're doing very well, and you're actually accumulating cash, which is not bad, because obviously any projects or anything to do with water fund typically requires quite a bit of money. So, but if you look at what you have on hand at the end of the year, again, good amount to cover debt payments and just normal operating costs. Third one, we look at the sewer fund. The sewer fund actually runs an operating loss, but a good chunk of that is because of depreciation. You've done a lot of projects in the past. I think you've got about $12 million worth of assets, so the depreciation is pretty high in that fund. And so, but even at an operating loss, you still actually increase cash balance, which means that you're still generating sufficient reserves as far as covering normal costs and your debt. So. And again, 1.29 million cash in that fund is very strong. Very, very good to cover 1 year's worth of expenses, including debt payments. So really no issues with that, even though from an operating standpoint it doesn't look that great. But the fourth one, look at the liquor store. The liquor store has actually been doing very well. As you can see, from 2020 to 2023, every year has improved. Your operating margins have improved, and the cash balance has been increasing. So you're in a much stronger position now than you were 3 years ago, obviously. And obviously 2020 was quite an anomaly also, with COVID and things like that. But so the main thing there is the gross profit has been increasing, which means you are becoming more efficient. Any comments or questions on any of that?
No, that was all good news.
That's pretty much how I look at it too.
Yeah, great.
Otherwise, as far as the audit itself, we did issue some internal control findings that we do want you to address. And those are found in the very back of your financial statement package. And a couple of things we want you, basically, we're saying we need to address is just the year-end procedures, processes, making sure that we understand what needs to be done at the end of the year to get the financial statements ready. And obviously I've talked with Alyssa and talked with Ryan about some of this. And I think it's just a matter of getting a better understanding of what you want to do at the end of the year. And I know this was a finding the prior year also, so it is something that could be addressed. And I did talk with them, and like I said, would agree to work with them on improving some of those processes, just to make sure that this finding doesn't happen again.
Great, thank you.
Otherwise, anything else you'd like to ask about, or?
Yes, Doug,
Unless you want-
please.
How many months reserve operating capital does the city have? I generally try to search for that in the audit. and I just
Yeah,
pull that up.
if you look on page 20 of the financial statements, there's a listing showing the fund balances as far as what they're earmarked for and so forth. And the line item that says unassigned at 1.8 million, essentially that's what's available to be spent on future operations that is not specifically earmarked for something else. And so if you compare that to what you typically spend in a year, without the capital outlay, you're probably spending roughly 2 million. So if you look at it that way, you have more than 50%, closer to 75%. And essentially, a very minimum you really would want to be at would be no lower than 40%. So really, anything above that is good.
We've been normally at about 9 months. That's pretty much where we've been at many years, so that's good to see.
Yeah, and again, that's important just because of the timing of your cash flows for that specific fund.
Yes, please.
Would you be willing to point out to council within the financial statement where they can view the sales tax fund balance and the liquor fund balance?
Yes. So on page 20 is the one that we would want to look at for the sales tax. So the sales and use tax had a $458,000 balance at the end of 2023. So that's basically what's available for future projects, whatever you have it earmarked for. And obviously you spent that down quite a bit by completing your 4th Street project. Because the year before that was at about 1 million, but it was written down to reflect the payment or the finalizing of the project.
We also have the gas franchise fees as well. So you'll see that right above, that's $201,600. So I think the idea of when the gas franchise fee was established was to utilize it for infrastructure projects as well. So we utilize the sales tax fund in its entirety to fund the 4th Street Road project, but we actually have access to both of those for infrastructure. So it would be the total between the two that is available as far as balances are concerned.
Right, and your annual revenue for the franchise and the sales tax is roughly $300,000. So you would assume that in 2024 you're adding $300,000 to that, unless you've earmarked it for something and spent it. So.
Thank you.
Very good, thanks.
And then, as far as the
Before
liquor
you
store.
move on, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Under the gambling fund, is there how should I put this, a time element to spending that down? At one time I thought there was, if you go too long.
I'm not aware that there's a time limit on that. It
Okay.
has to be spent.
Okay,
It's just that you have to earmark it for specific things. So.
okay, great, thank you.
As far as the liquor store, if you look on page 11, just looking at the unrestricted net position, which is similar to fund balance. It had $333,000 in unrestricted, which basically means that's the amount available for future operations. And obviously that's grown significantly in the last 4 years. So, and I know, a typical practice is you have a liquor store because you want to be able to transfer funds from that to your general fund, because it should generate enough to provide some funding outside of just the liquor store. And I'm assuming that's kind of your goal at some point also. And I don't know the history of that as far as when the last time anything's been transferred, but obviously now you're getting in a position where you actually would be able to transfer something and still have enough reserves in the liquor store.
Any other questions by the council? Administrator? Appreciate it very much.
All right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it also.
Thank you.
It's all positive information. And I thank the staff for the good work on this. Thank you. Moving on to 6B, general fund checking transfer discussion.
This is me. All right.
Yes, so I'm looking for, I believe it's just consensus to transfer $200,000 from our normal checking account into the additional checking account that we're using. We're eventually transferring everything over. I think you guys remember because of reliability and such. So we need one more transfer before we do everything. And then we have one account again.
Anybody want to review or anything, any questions? Excuse me.
That's the account that we already
Okay.
approved to reopen, I believe, and that's what the
Yep.
one you're talking about.
We're currently utilizing both.
I would make that motion, make that transfer.
Excuse me, do you have a motion?
Right here.
Well, you did. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to, bless you, to 6C, the MASC NHS Fall Leadership Forum Gambling Fund contribution request.
Yes, the city received a request from the school regarding an opportunity for the students to become better leaders, and they would send 5 executive team members, 3 from student council and 2 from NHS to a fall leadership forum, November 3rd and 4th in the Brainerd area. The total request was for $972. We do have our gambling fund contributions. They can only be utilized for specific reasons. One of them is to support youth activities and or for, there's a school component as well. And so it was a great fit all the way around. And so looking for council to review and approve, potentially approve the request for $972. As of today, we looked at the gambling fund contribution fund balance, and as of today, it was at $23,924.
So we could easily support this very
I'll
well.
make the motion that we contribute the $972 to the National Honor Society, whatever, total, out of the gambling fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to 6D, 2024 sewer lining projects, Instaphone Technologies USA LLC pay application number 1.
Yes, so this is for the 2024 lining project. The project is completed. What has been removed from this pay app is the 1% retainage. So we're currently working with the engineers to go through the closeout process. At this point in time, this pay application is for $131,268.16.
Satisfied, Phil?
Yep.
Turned out good?
Yep, better than the last one.
Great.
Great.
Council,
Make that motion.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Under 6E, Senate Capital Investment Committee meeting, October 16, 2024.
Yes, the city received an invitation for a meeting with the chair of the Senate Capital Investment Committee. We've scheduled a meeting for October 16th. And so what we're looking to do is have discussion. The city was informed that the project had been selected and included in an investment bill for the 2024 legislative session. Unfortunately, the bill did not make it to the Senate floor, and so it did not receive a Senate vote. Projects included in that bill were primarily identified as, addressing emergency situations. And so since state funding was not secured, the chair would like to have conversation about the current status of our project and whether or not the city received any other monies. I did include in the council's packet the 2024 capital bill breakdown. This project was a request for a little over $3 million. And that was to do a massive lining project throughout the entire city. I also included in the packet some of the one-page flyers that were utilized for presentation and/or within some of these funding requests. And so our engineers will be engaged on October 16th, and we will look to have dialogue regarding the city's ongoing needs. It's exciting from the perspective of the conversations are the first step, right? And so we will engage, and I wanted council to be aware of that.
Questions by the council? This will be a Zoom meeting, correct?
It will be, correct.
So if more than 3 councilors are interested, we have to post it as an open meeting. Otherwise, I will be on it.
I would be on it.
Is anyone else interested? Walter?
I'm not sure if I'd be able to make it at this
Okay.
time.
All right, so we won't post a special meeting. If someone does happen to show up, though, I'll have to ask them to leave because we'd be breaking open meeting laws. So, just so you're aware of it. Thank you.
And this is a 10% match, is that correct on this one?
This was 50-50.
Oh, this is 50/50.
Yep, so it would be a $1.5 million obligation from the city's perspective. Some of the dialogue that we've had with the city engineers is we have a current grant application out for $750,000. And we're hoping, we'll know on that grant in December whether or not the city was successful. So we have other things brewing that if we can coordinate and get all the wheels to turn at the same time, there would be less of a burden from a city perspective, but we will cross that bridge when we get there.
Thank you.
Good. Moving on to 6F, striping quote.
So striping was included in 2024's budget. With the talks the last few council meetings about where, what, who, parking, direction.
Up or down?
Yes, that's why we got this quote on the 8th, or on, I'm sorry, in the end of August. Waited purposely from last month because we were still unaware of the direction. This quote is the only quote that I could obtain this late in the year. Secondly, this quote is to basically brighten everything up we currently have. So if there's any changes that are made, like the subcompact thing, which is a great idea, I will have to have that adjusted. We're already halfway through October. We could try and see what we can do yet.
It's getting close to
It's getting very close. So I don't know what you guys wanna do, if you're gonna change things, if you're gonna add spots, do certain things, if you wanna hold off since we're that close to winter.
What is the quote?
So the quote is for $4,825.50. It's not fantastic to roll money over between budget years. It's not completely out of the realm.
It's page 80 in the packet.
But
Yeah.
it would be nice to utilize the money that was incorporated in the budget for that, as long as we can do it in a way that captures everything that council's looking to accomplish.
Correct.
And isn't subpar.
I would think that what striping we already have, what's left, that should be redone, including the handicaps and recreating the one. Was there something unusual, a different,
Subcompact,
Subcompact, eliminating 2 spots, right?
yeah, one on each side.
right?
Taylor, you're gonna have to help me with these.
Me?
Yeah, I got a hunch this is gonna get lengthy. Subcompact was one.
Can I just ask, first of all, is this quote still good?
Yes, it is. Yep. It's not gonna be good now that we add the subcompact. There's gonna be additional charges to it.
Minimum though.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
But
minimum.
yes, I mean, this is to
Yeah.
do this parking lot, this street, and that street.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about an extra $200 to $300,
Yeah.
possibly per spot. You know what I'm saying?
We're also eliminating some spots, so that could help.
It very well could, yes.
Brian will be able to paintbrush, it
Yeah.
won't cost us anything.
That's what I brought up originally.
I am colorblind, so I wouldn't recommend it.
So, everything else,
That is true.
Spray can.
Break.
We'll have to label it.
well, the quote's good,
Quote is good for everything the way it sits.
right?
So the dialogue at this point has been removing the
First 2 parking
first
lots,
2 parking spots.
On
fourth, and then was it a compact?
I thought it was only one parking.
It was one on each side.
One
on each
on
side.
And
the
then the first
north
one.
side, correct? So you can make the turn?
Correct.
Okay.
And then the south side would stay the same.
Don't do the direction thing. It's just the lowest spots on both sides is all.
Yeah. But we're doing one on the south side, one on the north side, right?
That's what we,
Yeah.
Yes.
my motion
And then
A
right
compact.
next to that,
on the
compact,
north.
one on both sides, right?
is. Correct.
Were those walkways ever painted downtown? Did we ever have?
This is
What?
including the crosswalks.
Okay, good.
We had also talked about making sure that the handicap space was established on Elm. And also,
There's 2.
Yep.
One mid, one
Yep.
shed.
yep, and so those can stay as is, as long as we're not adding.
Yeah, wasn't
There was one mid-block though.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the one that we're talking about.
Right here.
Yep,
Yep.
and then on Fourth as well.
Any other questions, Phil?
You got all of that, Taylor? That's my question. Perfect.
Would you like a motion of up to? Do you feel that $5,100 is adequate? That's adding a couple on top of here? 5,200, 5,500?
55, the probably.
Okay.
All right, council?
What did we have budgeted?
5, I believe.
We're good if we do another 500 about that. We'll be able to cover that with general fund.
I wouldn't
So-
anticipate it even goes that high. Above, I like to 55.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Phil. All right, G, snow removal discussion and quotes.
Yeah, so what council received in their packet is 2 different quotes for snow shoveling. I know the line items say plow. This is actually for snow removal, for shoveling at the various locations that are listed on the quotes. I think it's important to mention that, for example, you'll see Hillside Manor West included as a line item. That is something that will be billed to Hillside Manor West. We've engaged separately on that in the past and will continue to do so. Our pricing is better if we're getting quotes collectively, but they are billed separately and expensed to each individual department. There is a need via our law enforcement services contract to make sure that we have the police, the emergency response center shoveled out per snow event. And we've had requests from the staff at the Muni to have snow removal or snow shoveling be taken care of via some other means. And then we have the library and city hall. So some of these departments have been taking care of this on their own. There is a concern regarding potential claims and liability with some of that. Public Works has been taking care of some of it. However, we are now in a position where we have 5 plow routes and we have 3.5 individuals. And so we're a little behind the game as far as time is concerned for snow removal. I asked Phil to go get these quotes, and in looking at them, I just want to be really transparent. One in particular, the lower of the 2, you are seeing an hourly rate that is either equivalent to or less than some of our overtime rates for snow, or for city staff for snow removal. So that was a consideration that jumped out to me initially, and I wanted to share that.
I just have a question, because the way they're written, one is written each time and the other one is written per hour, so.
They're both each time. It's just, that's the way the code works in their estimate sheet. So for example, at the Manor, one option is 98.28 per time, the other one is 130 per time.
Okay, but are they equivalent in snowfall amounts? Because one says to be shoveled every 2 inches, one says 1 to 5, so.
Yes, I see that.
I'm kind of torn on which is.
Depends on how we do for snow this year.
Have you received specification from Advanced Lawn regarding the 1 to 5?
As far as what?
So for example, like we have city ordinance that dictates when our plows are
Yep, our trigger, yep.
our trigger, so we would want our snow removal from a shoveling perspective to have the same.
Right.
So there might have to be additional dialogue.
Yeah.
If a quote is awarded, that we have this standard, and in order to be awarded the quote, that they need to meet that standard as well.
I believe both these contractors have been hired by the city in the past for snow removal at the Manor, I believe, in the past.
It looks like Advanced Lawn Care charges 50% more if it's over 5 inches. And Beaver did not specify.
Every 5 inches it goes up.
Right.
Yeah, and so Beaver is 2 inches and anything above is the same price, is how this reads it.
Do you want me to get clarification on that?
I think I understand it perfectly well. If there's 25 inches of snow, then it's gonna be every 5 inches above the first. That doesn't happen often. Sometimes not even once a year, but we definitely will get probably a 10 inch or 12 inches.
What is the estimated time it takes our 2 hours, what does it take per time, or per area? I mean, obviously the Muni is smaller, just, I'm
So-
assuming just the sidewalks there is little,
Sure. I have no idea what their time frame was to do this, because they have certain equipment for this type of work that we don't have.
Oh.
So I didn't ask, so.
Just for me, yeah, I have no problem with this. We don't have that many huge storms. We'll have a lot of 5, 6 inches, of course. But like for the police station fire, will that be a high priority? Because for emergencies, they have to be plowed out first.
So the plowing is on us, plowing is off the works.
This
This
will
is
just be
just
shoveling.
sidewalks. Yep.
Right,
Yep, this is just shoveling sidewalks, yep.
okay. I want to make sure I understood that well. I don't have a problem with this, council.
I guess if we're gonna do it, I'd like to evaluate it after this year and see how that goes, because if we're spending that amount of money, I think that we should have a discussion about it, if it's a lot. But I think it looks like Advanced Lawn is the cheapest. For me.
I have a motion.
Make a motion that we go with Advanced Lawn and Landscaping.
Have a second? I'll second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. If they have a majority vote, I'm guessing.
I'll say aye.
I'll agree.
All right. I'll do the S. How many ayes again?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on to H, 2025 Water Fund Budget Discussion.
Yeah, so I wanted to provide a snapshot of the water and sewer funds as promised as far as the 2025 budget is concerned. We did have guidance from the city's rate study as far as what the increases should be for 2025. This information incorporates those recommendations from the city's rate study. So for the water fund in 2025, the recommended increase was 1%. That yields a $26,102 revenue increase. You can see the household impact of the 1%. For example, a 4,000 gallon user will see a 50 cents increase per 1,000. Wait, how is that?
That's on 4,000 gallons.
On 4,000
Their total
gallons,
bill would
correct.
be increased by
50 cents.
That would
Thank you,
be
Phil.
pretty much, what, a day, month, per billing?
Correct, at 4,000 gallons.
Per month,
Correct.
okay.
Then a snapshot as far as water revenues are concerned. For 2025, the revenue is budgeted for $449,500. The expenditures are budgeted at $367,057 for a net income of $82,443. It's important to mention that in 4 years, the water fund debt service obligation peaks, and it peaks at $241,000. We are trying to build the water fund in order to be able to make our debt service obligations. And there are no capital improvements or recommendations for 2025 in the water fund. With the brand new wells and the water tower rehabilitation, we don't have a ton of need right now, and more or less we're trying to build the fund, stabilize it, and pay for our debt, which is why there are no recommendations for capital this time. Moving on to the sewer fund summary. The rate study had recommendations. One of the items that the city council has already reviewed is the installation of an EDU base availability fee, and that is $15 per month. And so in the chart, you'll see a breakdown as far as the difference in rate between 2024 and 2025. For example, on a 4,000 gallon user, you're looking at a $2.04 increase for a month's worth of usage. The EDU charge would be $15 on top of that for a total of $17.04. We do have a $100,000 lining project identified for a capital item in 2025. That was also incorporated into the rate study information. Sewer revenues totaling in 2025, $953,713. Expenditures for 2025 are budgeted at $779,007 for a net income of $174,706. The sewer fund debt obligation in 2025 notably is $383,000. And the revenue includes the addition of the EDU base availability fees for all users in 2025. And that total was $319,680. That's an estimate. That's MSOP, DOC, the district, and city customers. Any questions? Well, I know a lot of that work has been done. If there is a desire to deviate in any way, shape, or form from the rate study, we would need to know. This information is presented with the implementation of the rate study recommendations.
So this is for your information right now. You have next month in December to discuss any changes or corrections, whatever.
Correct.
Thank you, Phil. I take it you have the next one.
No, I'm good. I was just up there for questions.
So that's both H and I. So moving on to 6J resolution 24.10.01, approving D. Joseph Properties Development Agreement.
So when the council is looking at entertaining approval of the development agreement, the proper mechanism to do so will be through resolution. I wanted council to have visibility to the resolution and the development agreement. So the development agreement has been emailed out to council. If there are any questions, please let me know. Mr. Peru is dealing with activities and needs based on the hurricane currently down in the Florida area. So he has not had the opportunity to engage with the city in negotiations for the development agreement. And so my communication to him was as soon as he is in a position in order to do so, we will engage. That might change a few items within the development agreement, and I will keep council informed. But if there's any questions now or that come about upon your review, please let me know. Most likely we'll need a special meeting here coming up in the next week or two to entertain approval of this resolution and therefore the development agreement. So more to come on that. Date and times I will know once I hear back from him.
Yeah, unfortunately, this property is almost in the eye.
Yeah, he's under mandatory evacuation.
Any questions on the resolution? Just aware that it'll be coming back to us shortly.
Correct.
Reports and correspondence, 7A, Moose Lake Area Historical Society Structural Engineering Report 2025 Budget Request.
So this item has been incorporated into the 2025 preliminary budget. I just wanted council to have visibility to the specific request. At this point in time, the Historical Society has been notified that it is within the preliminary budget. Essentially, they would like to engage in grant opportunities to help fix and repair the structure of the building. Technically, the city owns the building and the city owns the land. So this is the city's contribution as far as being able to assist with facilitation. If awarded this money, they will utilize it to get a engineering report conducted to then be able to utilize that in their applications. What they're finding is all of the grant applications that could provide funding to fix the structure require that report. So If anything changes over the course of the next couple months, I will be in contact with them, but this is incorporated into the general fund as a capital item for 2025.
Thank you. Under 7B, Gallagher Insurance Client Coverage Acknowledgement and Compensation Disclosure Statement.
This is simply for your information.
If you have any questions on it, please talk to the administrator. On 7C, Arrowhead Transit increase to subscription service rates for 2025.
Yep, this is just notification to the city that the rates will be billed at $45 per hour. Just for comparison, the city's rate is currently $38 per hour. So there is a significant increase to the service. We are adjusting the budget accordingly.
Need any action? Moving on to 7D, Carleton County Drug Prevention Coalition meeting minutes for September 9th, 2024.
Well, this is simply just for your information. There's lots of good detail as far as community engagement opportunities and what's going on from a county perspective. So I always like to include these just for visibility purposes.
Moving on to 8, committee and board meeting minutes. 8A, Moose Lake Area Fire Protection District meeting minutes. There were none provided for this last month.
No, none provided for September yet. And the October meeting has been moved to Tuesday the 15th.
Eight B, Parks and Rec Board meeting minutes, September 9th, 2024. 8C, Park and Rec Board meeting minutes for October 7th, 2024. Moving on to number 9, announcements. Moose Lake City Council regular meeting Wednesday, November 13th, 2024 at 4 p.m. Right here, City of Moose Lake. Truth and Taxation meeting Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, 6 p.m. right here. Moose Lake Economic Development Authority Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, 12 p.m. the City Conference Room. Moose Lake Water and Light Commission Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, 1 p.m. Water and Light Office. Moose Lake Housing Redevelopment Authority Board Monday, October 14th, 2024, 11 a.m. Hillside Manor Office. Moose Lake Area Fire Protection District Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. Emergency Response Center. And finally, Moose Lake Park and Rec Board Monday, November 4th, 2024, 5 p.m. City Council Town Board Chambers. Any questions on the announcements?
I just want
Yes,
to
sir.
make one update from the water and light. The 6 dual voltage transformers are all in, and so it was a lot quicker for the new development. And
That's
we have the
great.
cable as well, so I didn't say that.
Because I imagine there's gonna be a shortage with these two hurricanes. They're gonna be after every transformer they get.
It's good.
Oh, that's good news.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.